Here's some more detailed information on the wing panels. This wing panel here is just about complete. The only thing I have left to do is add the trailing edge on the back side here, and then also glue in this tongue. And I wanted to wait until I got both halves ready to put together before I glued in the tongue. But the other thing is I've cut a piece of light ply that's going to be the end cap. So if you notice, the end cap here is taller than the actual wing, and that's because there's going to be sheeting on top of this. I'm going to be sheeting the wing with the blue foam. So whenever it's all said and done, this edge here will be sanded down to the top of the foam. One other thing is with regards to the tongue. Notice the fit of this tongue is actually really tight in this opening, and as a matter of fact, all of these joints are tight, and that's something that's really important because you want to have all the joints to be as tight as possible. So you just have to take the time to cut it and make sure that they're tight. There's really no gaps. This one here is done. The tube, which is a piece of cardboard. This is actually cardboard that I received some K&S piano wire in, and it actually worked out just right because I was able to locate some wing tubes, and they actually fit this tubing here perfect. So you can see that this will slide in, slide out. Here it is in the wing already. Now, the way I went about this is I used Gorilla Glue. This is an aluminum tube up front that will receive a carbon tube. So this is the leading edge tube, and then back behind it will be the large wing tube, and then I have a trailing edge tube at the back. So these tubes will all stick and go into the other the center panel, and so will the tongue. But I have to warn you that all of these tubes, they must be parallel in order for this system to work. So if you take the time and get everything parallel, then you won't have any problem whenever it comes time to slide on the wing tip. But now let me show you how I went about gluing this all up. If you recall previous videos, I showed how I cut all of these slots, and here I've done a mock-up because I'm getting ready to glue this one all up. The first thing I did was cut a block of plywood to go in the back here, and what this is for is whenever you slide the wing tube in, it will keep the wing tube from digging into the foam over time. So once I've glued this in place, then I'm going to be gluing this tube in place. Now, one thing about this tube, this is just a regular cardboard tube. This was before I used thin CA to coat it, and then this is after. And so what I've done is I just coated this with thin CA and let it soak into the paper, and then once I'm done, I will coat the inside of this back as far as I can reach comfortably with thin CA as well. Also, I'll be coating the back of this with thin CA. Once I get that coated and it's dried, then I'll be ready to go ahead and glue this up. But the other thing that I've done is I've wrapped some tape around the ends and around the center, and what that's done is just reinforce the ends. Now, the only thing I have to do whenever I'm putting this together is coat this cavity with Gorilla Glue, coat my tube with Gorilla Glue, and then push it all together, push it back. Notice this is long, and that's so that whenever I put the end cap on, this cardboard will actually finish to the outside edge of my end cap. So once I got all this in with the Gorilla Glue, then I will take and I have a final piece of foam that goes over the top of this and sets over the slot. And then I found that if I'll tape this with masking tape on both sides and then across the end here, and then just lay some weight, a little weight on this side and a little weight on this side, and let that cure, let the Gorilla Glue cure, the Gorilla Glue will expand but it won't expand with enough pressure to raise up the foam. So that's what I did here, and you can see that it did not raise this up, nor did it make a big mess because I had actually taped this off with masking tape. So hopefully that tip might help you if you're dealing with Gorilla Glue. So you remember, it doesn't have the pressure to expand out past a little bit of weight. One last note about the wing and gluing all these components together, and that is with regard to the washout that's in the wing. You might recall in a previous video where I was cutting the washout, and if you can see here, I still have the washout. Notice that that trailing edge actually is trying to come back up, and that's because whenever I glued this up, you might be able to tell here, I've already glued in the carbon fiber that's the rear spar. And you have to be careful, because if you're not careful, you can actually take out any washout that you've planned for the wing. And the way that I put this together and keeping the washout is really simple. I'm actually elevating the trailing edge with about 1/4 of an inch on the tip here, and then down about halfway I'm using an 1/8 inch piece of material, and in this case I could just slip in the my end cap. It's an 1/8 inch thickness. So what I have is 1/4 inch on the tip, about halfway back is an 1/8 inch, and of course back here this is going to be sitting right on the table. So you would go ahead and glue this up, and once you do, if you hold this and weight the leading edge, because we want the leading edge to be right down on the table, then whenever your glue sets, well, it should hold that position. And of course, every time you glue something up, you need to repeat this process so that you do not take out any washout whenever you add weight to hold down or support anything that you're gluing. So it's really important to follow through and keep in mind any provisions that you've made whenever you've cut your wing. And again, here is the one that I finished, and if I put the weight on at the front here and at the back, you can see that it's maintained the washout that I originally planned for the wing. So whenever I sheet this, I will also pay really close attention not to take out the washout that I've created in the foam core originally. So I've already glued in the locking mechanism, so you can hear how that's a solid lock that's closed. So I don't have any fear of this lock coming undone because of bouncing or vibration during flight. So that's what I have for you right now on completing the outer panel and getting it ready to sheet.